Hello guys, welcome to another session. In this session, we are going to look into the identity access management of AWS. So in this aspect, we are going to learn about what it is, why it is, and how we can do that. In the what aspect, we will look into what actually this service is, and in the why aspect, we will look into why we are using this services is, and in the how aspect, we will look into how to configure the IAM. So let's jump into the discussion. Identity access management is one of the important service or say one of the important concepts you should know prior to start learning other concepts in AWS. As I already mentioned earlier in our discourse, AWS has various services like if you see this diagram, then you will find that it has various services and we are going to discuss some of the important services in the further upcoming session. So now let's understand that what is IAM, that is Identity Access Management. I will show you one diagram, then I will explain that what actually it is. So look at this diagram. So this is the image of different managed services of AWS. And now you consider that we have two users called user A and user B. And you have created an account for user A and user B to work on the respective services. Creation of an account for this particular user doesn't mean that they are having access to these services. So to allow the respective services where these users need to work, you must have to provide the access to that particular services within AWS to use that service. If you look closely, then you will find that AWS is working on authentication and authorization model, where authenticated user is not required to have an access to the particular service till the time if you haven't authorized to access that service. For example, if user A want to create EC2 instance with a program, so to do that he must be having that access. So here IAM, Identity Access Management, comes into picture. So all these operations or say access related activities can be handled with IAM, Identity Access Management. So here it comes the first definition of our session. What is IAM? Identity Access Management. So it is one of the mechanisms by which you can manage the security of AWS services at a granular level. In the further session, I will show you what this granularity means and how to assign a particular role to a particular user. Within IAM, you can also do the user management within your AWS infrastructure. So here we understand that what is Identity Access Management and why we are using Identity Access Management. Now we will look into what are the things we can do within this service. So with the help of Identity Access Management, you will set up multi-factor authentication, you will set up users management, and the groups management you can do with the help of Identity Access Management. So let's move further and do all these exercises and understand it better. So let's jump into the AWS console. So here you will search IAM and we need to go over here. So this is how Identity and Access Management Service Console will look like. You will find that dashboard, groups, users, policies, roles. So all these things you can manage from here for your AWS account. And here you will see that the security status. So we need to configure these things. So to mark it green tick, you need to configure all these items. So we will look into how we can set up this. So MFA means multi-factor authentication, and to set up that we need to follow these steps. But prior to going into the configuration steps of multi-factor authentication, we must have to understand that what actually it is. So basically multi-factor authentication provide an extra layer of security for your AWS account. So while logging, along with username and password, you need to provide additional security information which you have configured in the form of multi-factor authentication. So this is what we are going to do. So to do that, we need to click on Manage MFA. So here click on Continue to Security Credentials. So here you need to select this multi-factor authentication. Now you need to click on Activate MFA. So after clicking that, you will find that it is giving us three options: Virtual MFA device, you to have security key, other hardware MFA device. So basically, some of the companies is using some hardware to authenticate users like RSA, but here we are going to use virtual MFA device and we will set up that virtual MFA device as well. So click on continue. So after clicking on continue, you will get this option, and here we need to configure it or find the list of compatible applications. So to do that, right click, open in new tab. We will look into what are those options. So here you will find the details of the supported devices. So let's look into that. So here you will find that we are using virtual MFA. So for Android phone, we are going to download the Google Authenticator. So you need to go into your Play Store and search for Google Authenticator or Authy 2-factor authentication for both iPhone and Android. If you are using Windows phone, then you need to use Authenticator. So what you need to do in your phone, go to Play Store and search for Google Authenticator and download it and install it, and then later point of time we will use it. So please install Google Authenticator and then we will proceed further. So now I hope you have installed Google Authenticator. Now we will configure multi-factor authentication. So here you should open your Google Authenticator app on your mobile, and there you are getting an option called scan a barcode with a camera icon. So prior to clicking on that, you have to click here show QR code and use Google Authenticator from your phone to scan this QR code. So let's scan it. So I scanned it. So it has given me an access code. So I will type there. You will also type yours and it will again generate another one. So you have to wait for it. So it has generated another one. You have to again write that and to set up the multi-factor authentication. Now assign MFA. So we have done successfully virtual MFA setup. So close here. So it has generated this serial number. Now let's go into dashboard. So see here you will find that the green tick mark has came now. It is a sign of you have successfully configured the multi-factor authentication. So let's move further and we will create a IAM user. Now we will configure an IAM user. Currently we are using root account, so that is not a good practice to use the root account for your project. So we need an user which has access to the respective service for the project. In a production environment, an user account should be created also for your name. So let's look into the steps. What are the steps required to create an IAM user? So we need to click over here and click on manage users. So here you will get an option to add an user. So let's click into that. So if you click into that, then you will find that this page, and here you will find the steps. What are the steps required to create a new user? First you need to add user, provide a name. In the second step you are seeing here, it is showing that permission need to be assigned, and then the tag needs to be created for that particular user, and then it will provide an option to review it, and then the process will complete. So it is 5-step process to add an user. So here we are seeing that we need to provide a name. So we are going to provide some name. So I will create one generic name. It's called developer 1, or say cloud developer 1. And here we are going to provide the programmatic access. We are going to use the same user when we are doing the part 2 of this course. As this is an AWS automation course, so we need to have such kind of access. So we need to provide programmatic access and along with AWS management console. Now here you have two options, either you can auto generate password or custom password. So I will be using custom password and I don't want to be reset. So here we need to provide that. Once you have provided the password, you need to click on next permissions. So now here you will find that it is giving an option to create a group. So it is really important you have to manage the users with the group so that it is really very convenient for user management. So why it is important? Suppose if you are working in a project and there are various roles like developer, project managers, Scrum Master if you are working in Agile project. So there are various roles, and suppose if you want to give an access to a particular developer, then it would be really easy to add within a group and he will get all those permissions which is required for developer if you are managing through groups. So now click on create group button. So here you will find that it is giving an option to provide the name along with the policies which is being applied to this group. So it is really important to understand these policies. So first we will provide the name developers, give it a name developers, and then understand that what actually these policies are. So these are the policies which is predefined by AWS for the usage of their services. So this is the way by which you can manage the granularity of the security. Suppose that if you want to give an access like an administrator, so you can search for administrator. Over here we are getting it. So you want to assign the administrator access to this group, so you can search it and you can directly assign it. So we will look into that what actually this administrator access has. So click on this button. So here you will find that it has listed all those services which is exist within AWS, and we have administrator access now if any user is being assigned to this developers group and they have full control on these services. So let's move further and click on create group. Now it has created that group and that has administrator access. You can also provide the same permission if any special permission is given to other user and you want to replicate that, you can use this option. And you can also attach the existing policies directly. For example, we have seen that administrator access policy. You can directly assign that policy to this particular user called developer1 instead of creating a group. But group is the best way to handle the permissions. So let's move further and click on next tag. So this is also very important but optional thing. Suppose that you have a big project and you want to bifurcate the users as per their roles. So this tags option comes very handy. For example, you want to add roles and here you can say that developer. So if you want to get the list of all the developers within the project, so you can use this tag as well. So here you provide that roles, what the roles for this user is. He is a developer, and it will help really if you are doing some reporting thing and want the list how many number and who are the developers working in the project. So tags will really help for bifurcation. So once you have provided the roles, let's move further and click on next review. Now we will get an option to create user. So click on create user. You should review it. If you want to do any changes, you can easily do the changes. And now click on create user. So make sure that you should download this CSV and keep it at your secure location. So now we're done with the user creation process. So close it and let's move to the dashboard. So here you will find that we have created the individual IAM user and we have also created the groups over here. Now next we need to apply an IAM password policy. So let's do it. Click over here, click on manage password policy. So this password policy is required to set the minimum criteria for setting up the passwords. So let's do it. Click on set password policy. So here you will set the rule, require at least one uppercase letter while setting up the password. So it is really very important so that user will generate the strong password with the help of these policies. So we will select this one and we will select this one as well, or you want to set all these things, that is also good. Now select this one also and click on save changes. So we have set up now the password policy. Now go into the dashboard and you will find that we have configured all the security aspects. So this is what I wanted to demonstrate you in this session. So see you in the next session. Bye bye. Take care.